Hello, hello, and welcome to Community Voices, a platform for the voices of the community recreation industry. Today, I have two amazing leaders from the YMCA of Metropolitan Dallas with me. We have Keith Vinson and Rodrigua Ross. Keith Vinson is the Vice President of Operations, and Rodrigua Ross is the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, which you guys probably already know that because they're everywhere, literally. How are you all?
Doing well.
Good.
Doing well. It's so exciting to be here on this side of it.
I know, right?
It's kind of weird. I don't know.
I know. I was like, wow, I want to start doing this video interview series. So let me go directly to the pros who have been doing it for quite a while now. So they can teach me.
Yeah.
Oh, pros. Yes, pros.
Yes. And I wanted to start off by just kind of jumping in because we have been talking for quite a while, but you all are moderating the 2023 Community Rec Leadership Summit.
Yes.
We're so honored and excited to have you.
He's so excited about this whole California thing. It's gonna be amazing. Just hearing the buzz already from CEOs around the country that are excited to be registering and to be attending. Makes me a little nervous.
I know. Like we got some of the top leaders throughout.
Yeah.
And not just on the Y side. Like it's one thing to do things in front of family, but there's the other side of, bringing the cousins in. It's like,
it's like,
we ain't seen each other in a while. Hey, how you doing?
So,
but we're ready. We appreciate the invitation to be able to do it. Honor.
Absolutely.
It's a huge honor.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, for anybody who doesn't know already, so that event is happening March 1st through the 3rd. Again, that's 2023. We're gathering in Carlsbad, California at the Omni La Costa Spa Resort. We've been looking at photos. Our event coordinator is going out there, I think October. Yes. So get some more details. We've been told that like the flowers there are beautiful. Great view. Pretty close to the ocean, I believe. I was like, I've only been to California once, but it was Northern California. So I'm very excited to like dive a little Southern. What about you guys?
I'm ready.
I tell you what, you're close enough to the place that I just absolutely fell in love with, which is close to San Diego. And I just been dying to get back there. I mean, the weather is going to be perfect. Of course we're coming there for the learning and the education and to be able to facilitate a session. But when you throw in a little beach and you throw in a little sun,
yeah,
85 degrees all the time. Oh,
okay. I mean, I guess I can find time in my schedule.
Yeah. But I think we're going to be in for a treat.
Yes, indeed.
We're excited to just push a little bit because a lot of times we stay in our same molds for so long that we don't know how to look a little bit different, and so. That's what we plan to bring is a little push.
I know when we like kind of announced it to the industry, I feel like, of course, I had like a lot of conversations about it beforehand, and a lot of people seem to be confused about like I don't want to call it like luxury, but we're not in a conference room. There's like scenery. It's like a relaxing environment.
Yeah.
And you get together and like the focus is on just like talking to other people, and it's like a casual, relaxing, but like fun environment. I was gonna say,
right.
We kind of include activities. I don't know if you guys had noticed yet, we're slowly announcing some of the like group activities that we're doing. On the first night, we're doing the Iron Chef dessert competition. So first of all, I know that you guys are cupcake fans, so
excited.
Love a good cupcake. So
ready.
Now are we gonna be making the cupcakes and dessert? Are we gonna be making the desserts?
I think so.
Okay, well I got a little special one that I probably would if y'all needed some education on some dessert.
I don't think he does. I just want to eat the desserts. I cook at home now. And so I'm okay with just being in the audience and eating the dessert. Not necessarily this dessert you talking about, because I'm nervous.
No, I got this one that's you got this graham cracker crust, right? And then you get a little Jello, mix a little.
I'm gonna stop you right there. Jello and graham crackers
and whipped cream in there, and then you put a little Cool Whip on the. Man,
It sounds
now,
like the things that you make in elementary school and after school program.
I tell you what, I bet you.
There's no baking involved.
Hey, I tell you what, this one right here is one of those cool desserts. It ain't about the baking. Sit that thing in the refrigerator overnight.
Bring me one.
Oh, I tell you what.
Bring me one.
You keep waiting. You keep on waiting.
Let me taste it before we get to
when you talk about the atmosphere, though, it is it's going to be one of those ones that we'll be able to hopefully have that creativity to come about. And so it's not in your sterile, typical conference room, but being able to see that scenery right there and to be able to come up with different ideas that you can take back home to be able to use. I think it's going to be excellent.
Yes. And that, exactly leads me back to why I reached out to you both to co-moderate the event. It's obvious, I think, to most people in the industry who know you, listen to your podcast, just the energy that you all bring to the room through the speakers, however anybody's interacting with you. I was like, wow, they gotta be there. They gotta we need them. And so, I kind of just wanted to ask, where does this energy and love for the community industry, where did that come from? Where did it originate for you all?
Wow.
Yeah, I would say mine goes back to Dale's home, which is in Portsmouth, Virginia. So I grew up in the projects in Portsmouth, Virginia. And what I did understand, I think I understood early where I was living at, but also there was this enjoyment in this space also, and always wanting to be better. And I tell people that when I answer my call, which is to work with young people, I always try to give them probably some things that I didn't have, and knowing that they're in that same type of space. So I probably overcompensate in some ways with young people, but it drives my passion to be able to want to do what I do. And so to be able to elevate to position of, where I am right now in the workspace, be able to hire people to continue on with that passion in multiple different directions, and just be able to have a platform now to be able to share different things, different views, to make sure that the attention is given to young people that is in that space. For me, that's where the passion is, and that's what drives me.
Yeah. I very much the same, had the same humble beginnings growing up in Brooklyn, where community is very important. When you have parents who are working really hard every day, that extended family, that community becomes integral in your development, good, bad, or indifferent, right? However that manifests. Right. And then knowing that there are so many young people who are experiencing the same lived experience, the trials and tribulations, and even some of the excitement that I experienced. But in terms of the podcast, I think our energy, it really is organic. Literally, the podcast started because we very rarely see eye to eye on something. And it would cause us to have very spirited exchanges. Can I say it that way?
Yes,
spirited exchanges, right?
In public as well as, private.
And someone told us, they was like, y'all should just probably record your arguments. Yeah. And we were like, okay. That's literally how it was born. And the pandemic kind of forced us to formalize it and be intentional and talk about the things that, we were getting feedback from people were important, and lean into our bravery and really kind of be intentional about not just because we can argue about all kinds of stuff all day. That's the easy part. But putting it in a podcast format and giving people hopefully snackable content that they can take back and implement, or helping them change their view, or become aware of something. That's really, for us, at least for me, that's where that privilege and that honor and that really humbling experience, that's where that happens.
And I think also it allows people to be truthful. So we are truth tellers to one another. Our content that we come out with is that this is who we are, and this is what we think, this is what we believe. Of course, is our opinion. We're fortunate enough that we have a CEO in Kurt Hazelbaker that gives us opportunity to be able to do this without knowing that he has to follow up on or approve every podcast. And the things that we say in the podcast are the same things that we say in our senior team meeting. So there's no Well, you get this one side, you come to us doing a conference, you're going to get the same conversation. If you're that, maybe we'll have program directors that have come to us and, they're looking for some nuggets, and we're just like, well, what are you doing about it?
Right. It's like,
let's
have some shared responsibility about
right
stuff.
Because it's not everybody else. Like, you got to put that mirror up to your face, and like, you got to own what you own. So we, at the end of the day, our podcast, I think we're we say tackling topics and telling the truth. We're truth tellers.
Yeah.
No, I love that. And, going to your role as moderators, kind of leading our group through the discussions, I wanted to kind of run through those topics that we'll be discussing and how we kind of got there, because I know you all played a large role in that. So at the event, I have them listed out here. So we're going through about 5 roundtable topics, which of course the first one, I love that added. We came up with something plain and you guys made it sound funny. So we were like, okay, reimagining revenue, show me the money. Discussing DEI, I feel so seen, which again, I love that, it brings it out. Aiding in the youth mental health crisis, mindset matters, absolutely. Fundraising and capital projects, the people's choice, and the future of community rec, which is be like the Jetsons.
That was a good one right there.
He's been on this Jetsons. This is his theme this year, this whole Jetsons thing.
I mean, because when you go into what we're going to talk about as moderators, we want to get people to think about that Jetson mindset, and that the same person that created the Flintstones created the Jetsons in similar time periods. So for somebody to think about prehistoric time, and then somebody to think about at that time was, I believe it was 1963 that the Jetsons were created, to think about things that are happening today, and then things that have not even happened yet. Like, somebody has that type of mindset, and it's like, can we get over our little barriers that we have, that we're operating in, to be able to think not just outside the box? I'm talking about the future. Can people think that big and be able to take that back and operationalize that for today?
Yeah. And the other, I spend copious amounts of time trying to
spend a whole lot of money. That's what you do.
That's not even what the topic is about today. I don't spend a lot. Well, that's another podcast. I do. But in terms of creating the titles, right? Because we really want to, if we're going to ask people to sit in an environment that is very different than what you're used to, and if we're going to ask you to lean into that skill set and those behaviors that are very different than what you may exhibit from day to day in your regular job, then we want to be able to give you some titles and set the stage for these workshops that are very different, to give people this auditory, this ocular reminder that this is different, right? We're trying something new. We're going to really lean in and tell the truth and try to look at this from a different lens. So we had a great time taking the base, right, and the premise of what you all wanted to talk about, and reimagining and coming up with these titles that we thought would be hopefully, right, enough to really get people thinking like, what's that about? I definitely want to talk about that. Yeah,
absolutely. And, that's exactly what I thought when we were coming up with those, plain topics initially, and those just came from, like surveying, like people that I felt like I could lean into and ask, and like, what's bothering you right now? What do you want to know more about? Like, what's on your mind? So I felt really good about having some bases, which it's going to be like, how many months now until we get there, and who knows what else is going to come up, and things are constantly evolving, but that's also, we'll have that room to like flex in those conversations. And, that's why I look forward to you all bringing all that together. You guys know what's going on out there. You're in it
every day. Every day. And the reality is, those topics, you're right. Those topics that people are telling you, they are absolutely happening every day. We're talking about them in a number of different spaces and circles, and with different networks and group. And on some levels, it's creating fatigue, right? Like, when you talk about something so much, you just feel like, okay, I've reached the end of my rope in terms of the conversation. So putting a twist on it, hopefully, allows people to open up and think about it a different way, and re-energizes the conversation. The other thing is, hopefully, because we've spent so much time in the last 2 years really talking about those things, we don't have to start that conversation when we get together from the beginning. Everyone knows what the foundation is. Everyone knows what the level set is. Everyone recognizes, understands, and agrees that finances across our industry post-pandemic are something that we have got to grapple with and get a handle on. So can we take it from there and begin to think about what are we going to do? We need to take it out of the exploratory phase, right? The conversation phase, the analysis paralysis phase. We're going to talk about it to death. Like at this point, we need to talk about exactly what we're going to do. So when we disperse from this lovely, lovely environment where I'm going to have all cute new outfits and shoes for every day, you look judgy, they can go back and begin to do the things, right, that sparked up in those roundtable conversations.
Yeah,
you want to match outfits?
What would I want to match outfits?
We should match.
I was told about the matching outfits. I'm
match.
kind of expecting them now.
No, it is never intentional that we.
And it never is. It's always scary.
No.
It's very scary.
Yeah, no, sometimes we just happen to show up and it's like, ooh, they're a little too close. I'll be back. Let me go back on.
What's going on? We going to the floor? What's really happening here? Like, why didn't you tell me you were gonna wear that shirt?
The hope at the end of the day when we finish this is that people don't walk away with the same thing that they came in with.
Yeah.
We're not, I'm sure you're not putting everybody in this beautiful environment such that they can come out and that, oh yes, we're just gonna go ahead and raise our $1.25 million for this project.
They're gonna say it like that.
We're gonna ask, the 3 donors that gave to us last time. If the pandemic didn't show us anything else, we should take a look back to 2020 and see the different people that gave and the amount of money that they gave. And so, yes, your typical suspects, they gave, to different things, but a lot of other people came on board and began to distribute money. I mean, we had a church here in Dallas. They gave us $100,000.
Right.
Like, hey, we want to make sure that people have a place for their kids to be able to come while the parents have to work. And this was totally unexpected. It wasn't any cultivation that was there. We've been friends, of course, because in a particular service area, but it wasn't that we were courting them for, $100,000 ask. And then you think about Mackenzie Scott and the money that she distributed across the country and still doing it. A lot of CEOs made their career based on that one gift that Mackenzie Scott did.
Thank you, man.
So many of people across the country, YMCA's included, they got the largest gift that the institution had ever had.
Yeah.
And we didn't even make the ask.
Right.
And so you can't tell me that they're not people. I mean, yes, that's one example. There's other people that did that in so many different ways. I mean, you take the gentleman down at Morehouse, I think before the pandemic, during the pandemic, that paid for, wiped the students' debt.
The student debt,
clear. He started a trend, and then some other universities around the country, people start, being keynote speakers or the commencement speakers, and then they wipe the debt clean. So people are giving in different ways. I think in our organization is recreation, nonprofit space, we got to be able to just seek out some different opportunities for to ask people for money.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've already kind of dove into some of those exact topics that we're going to be covering at the event, but I wanted to ask, individually, if there were any of those topics that you're especially excited to dive into.
Be the Jetsons.
Yeah.
He likes the Jetsons.
I figured that was coming.
Excited about the show me the money.
Yeah.
When we're really talking about how your capital projects should be based and should be anchored in community needs, not necessarily legacy building. I think we have, unfortunately, in the past, not paid as much attention, and people were being altruistic, right? Like leaders were like, no, we want to go and we want to expand the footprint of our organizations. We want to put these buildings, these rec centers, these YMCAs, what have you, in these certain areas, but they didn't do their due diligence in really interfacing with the community. They didn't necessarily understand cultural competency. And as a result, right now, what we're experiencing is that we have an excess of opportunity in some spaces and a lack of access to those spaces in others. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to change our philanthropic models, to talk about how do we engage communities And how do we reframe the narrative that net income doesn't necessarily determine philanthropic effort or ability? Sometimes the greater percentage and ability to give comes from the lower income communities, but you got to know how to engage with them. So I'm really excited for that roundtable to just really think through and how do we reimagine, especially since so many of our institutions have talked about the pivot that they did during the pandemic and how they kind of reacclimated themselves to their foundational grassroots community facing work. How do you keep that alive, and how do you let that new re-energized spirit transition you into a different kind of philanthropic effort? And what does that look like, right? As the Jetsons years from now, how will they know 30 years from now that you made this pivot and you started to look at interfacing with communities and capital campaigns differently? How will that show up in your organization? So I think that's the one I'm excited about.
It's absolutely, I think in the giving standpoint that you're going to need the people who are going to write the $2 million, $3 million, $5 million check. But I think from a long-term standpoint, that donor base looks like somebody that's probably writing the $50, the $100, that $250. Like, where can you take that $250 now? Can you ask them for $1,000? If they get to that ability and asking them for more, I mean, that's going to be the base that carries it. So when we have this conversation, I'll be interested to find out, what people's trends are in terms of the giving pattern. So is it that, less people are giving more, or you got more people that are giving even more, so that you can, blow your goal out the window.
Yeah. But all of the topics are going to be amazing. I'm going to have to remember I'm moderating.
Yeah.
Because I just be sitting in there listening like, what? I'm supposed to be working right now. Thanks.
You get off topic quick.
That's not true.
Yeah.
I don't even.
Watch the shoes.
Don't start with me, because that's not fair. I did see some real cute ones yesterday, though.
See, she gets
that's not fair.
She just loses so easy.
But I did get these cute, like, metallic ones.
Hey, right here. Go ahead, Brittany.
One of the great things about the event, though, so you don't miss out, is that I will actually be taking notes the whole time during the roundtable topics, and then we send those out afterwards. So we'll compile everything. Yeah, and then everyone there will have access to it. So everybody can be, fully engaged in the moment and their conversations, and not having to worry about their notes so much. So
nice.
Love it.
Try to make it as, as worthwhile as possible.
Yes, I love it. And just, I'm really interested to see too, just the act of dialogue, right? Like, it's a lost art. And I don't know if the pandemic helped or hindered that. I would like to believe it helped it, because it allows us to connect more freely because we're in this virtual space. So I can have conversations with people from all over the place that, pre-pandemic proximity might have not let us have those conversations. But on the other side, because of the isolation, right? And because of this new remote work life integration thing that's going on, that whole art of dialogue is kind of being lost. And so I'm really excited to just see all of these thought leaders, right, come together and just converse. Like, you don't have to solve it. You don't have to come up with a plan. We're not working to a work. Like, we just want to talk these things out and get to some viable action steps.
And another big thing will be that it's not just one group in there. So you got Parks and Rec, Jewish Community Center, you got the YMCA in there. And so the net is truly networking. It's not just this inner circle that, we've become accustomed to within the YMCA. So that right there, the sharing of ideas. And then I think it is, for us with the Y, you got Parks and Rec and there's, city leaders, is that, how are you sharing, resources maybe with nonprofits, for us to be educated on how we can enter into that space more. There's some Ys who's doing a fabulous job with working with city departments, but, I don't know about the, JCC yet. Are they, how they and the YMCA working together?
Yeah, that's a great learning opportunity.
Yeah, I think there's some collaboration that can come out of that. And then, you're just building your network across the country.
Sure.
That part is just highly viable.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to switch gears though, and I want to talk about you all, and I want to talk about the Causenetic Podcast. I know we kind of started, we dipped in there a little bit, but yeah, I know you guys are in season 3 now. I was looking back through all your episodes. you all are busy. You all are talking to people all the time. It's like you got episodes out like every day. You had multiple.
It feels like every day.
It feels like sometimes, yeah.
It does.
Yeah. So yeah. Can you, I feel like most people know about the Causenetic Podcast, but can you just maybe share a little bit about how it originated, how you came up with it, the name? Give us a little overview of the Causenetic Podcast.
I think I came up with the name. Wasn't it me? I had something to do with it.
It's okay. It's okay. No, so as Ross said earlier, is that two talking heads, kind of poke at each other. Hey, let's do something with this. And so we geared up in 2019.
Yeah, the very end of 2019.
Yeah, when we started talking about it, and I was like, "Hey, Rod, let's do a podcast." And so David Frederick, who's he's the chief marketing officer out in with the San Diego YMCA. Prior to that, was like, you two, y'all just need to, if I could just package this and just put it out there. And so it's tossing and turning and tossing right. Hey, you know what? We should start a podcast. And she was like, okay. As if we really needed something to do. But one thing that we started off, we said that, you know what, this is not our job. And so, the day that it stops becoming fun, then it's a wrap.
Yeah.
And so it is more.
And it's still not our job.
Yeah. It is morphed into something, I think, a little bit larger than what we probably expected. We didn't know.
No.
And so it's been great. This summer, we went to Denmark to be able to facilitate conversation there at our World Council, headed out to California with you all. We were in Las Vegas with the National After School. And so these opportunities just have come up, and, you develop some fans, I guess you can call it. And so
I have international fans.
The last count, I one of 3-2.
No, I think I got 3 fans and you only got 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But it's been great to be able to facilitate conversations. So whether that's us doing that together, whether that's us doing it separately, and because I think people trust the voice and that they know what we know, how we are, who we are, and that we're authentic about what we say and do.
Yeah, and we tried the silver line in the pandemic. So we started at the end of 2019, and the pandemic hit. And for the first couple of weeks, when the whole entire planet was kind of in this like still mode, we were just like, we got to do something. Like, we need to do something. We need to stay connected. We need to, like, my kids are worrying me to death. I'm cooking all day long. Please, let's do something, Kate, right? And so we just decided that we would start doing more podcasts and really talking with people and connecting and finding out what was happening across our community and across the nation during the pandemic. And then, of course, as societal events emerge and as things happen, we just really had to take a moment and be like, okay, now we said we were going to tackle topics and tell the truth, and we were going to lean into our bravery. Here we go. Be careful what you say out loud, right? And the opportunity arose for us to begin to have those conversations and to ask people to join us and to bring on guests to really talk about these things. And the other thing that it gave us the opportunity was to really poke fun and laugh at some of the goofy stuff that kind of emerged for us during the pandemic. And so from then on, it's been this mix, this balance of bringing in other viewpoints and bringing in guests, because we recognize people don't necessarily always want to hear Keith. Whoa. I mean, us. I meant to. Did I say Keith? I meant to say us. They don't always want to hear us.
Your boy.
It's
that
Rodrigua. I am hilarious. So they don't necessarily always want to hear us. So we bring in guests.
Funny. Yeah.
I mean, I could say
other people are content experts, right? Like, there are some things that we're just not the expert on. Bring in the guests. Let's talk about it. Let's balance the fun with the necessary topics and the telling the truth. And like he said, when it stops being fun, that's probably going to be the end of Causenetic. And we looked for titles and we looked for words. And when we couldn't find them, we said, we're just going to make up our own word. And we literally just made up a word. And then we tried to get it in an Urban Dictionary and they told us no. So, but I think we should go back. Like that was at the
we're gonna keep trying.
We gotta go back.
Yeah, I mean, they let Miriam's letting words in every year. So maybe one day we might
Causenetic would be the word causenetic because we have a definition. It's
right.
It's a verb.
Yeah.
It's I mean.
And so when we take a look at our definition, it is that we try to make sure our topics match up with that. We want to make sure they are things that are phenomenal, that can cause, some type of movement, but things that are dynamic, things that are energizing. And so the guests that we bring on, the topics that we'll talk about with the guests or topics that we'll talk about together, we want to make sure it fits that definition of what we've created. And the cool part is that we've gone from the space of in Google, when we first put it out there, it was another name that was coming up. And now it's like, when you Google it, it's like, Google Causenetic and it pops right up there on the list. So, and we know that nobody else has that particular name out there. So, it's been neat to see it develop over time.
Yeah.
And bring in guests that
100+ episodes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The guests that we brought on, some are, a little flatline, and so you got to kind of,
I remember one guest, I don't even remember who it was, but I distinctly remember the guest being like, I really don't like to talk. I was like, this is a podcast, right? Like, literally what we do. Why'd you say yes?
But we found some unique things that we could do that makes people just, come out of themselves. And, and then we have, this great engaging conversation. So we don't script our shows
at all.
Some people want, what are the 10 questions that you may ask? And is that, well, what are we going to talk about? Talk about you. Give them some leader about, leadership, but we'll take the conversation where that person goes at and try to dive in, a little bit deeper with them. So, as a result of that, we're partnering with you guys, with your the individuals who own your magazine. Also partnering with our YUSA with the innovation series to talk about different topics there as well. So
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, one of my, obviously from the beginning, one of my favorite parts about your podcast is the intro. That music, and you're like getting pumped up, and then you just like come in and it's the energy that's there.
Let's get the party started. I don't even want to tell you behind the scenes how it takes when Keith has to start the intro.
See, nobody's up here talking about why you always like
we tackling topics and telling the truth, right? The guests, we can get the podcast in one take, but the intro,
you got to record a few times.
And we don't pre-record the intro. So some people think that we pre-record that spot and we just overlap it. Yeah. No, we do it fresh every time because we want it to flow into the conversation. Yeah. We like to create that energy for the guests. We want them to be a part of the entire experience. And so many times though, his average is about 4. It takes 4.
Renee, I'm not even gonna sit up here that you put this out nationally and for that to be on record right there. So that is absolutely
okay. 3?
No.
Oh, Rodrigua? Come on, we're not telling the truth right now. It is absolutely true. Multiplicable, since we making up words like cosmetic, multiplicable takes. Whatever.
Whatever you're doing, it's working. That's all I gotta say. It is working. No, and yeah, you were talking about like the topics that you cover, and I was like, wow, you guys, mental health, climate,
you just
being genuine, being authentic, really diving in. Mm-hmm. And yeah, absolutely. Like when you listen to your episode,
I remember the environmental one that we talked about, and what happens is that the way the topics come about is kind of see things that are happening in the world. So it's not, that we're spending 20 hours of research to find out what's the next thing to talk about or who to talk to, but it's really what's going on present at that moment. So when we start talking about environmental change, it changes my view. For me, it changes my view as far as how I drive around there. So when I look in a neighborhood and I do see all this concrete, it's like no green space in maybe an under-resourced area, and you see how the streets are, uneven. You see how trash is there, but then you go, for us, it's on the north side of town. Like you go north side of town, And I tell people, look like doggone sky done changed over here because it's just
a different color out
yeah,
there, huh?
right. So we definitely, like I say, tackling topics, telling the truth, to make sure that we are really spending our time in the best places, that if people are going to listen, we want to make sure we give them great content that they can use it after they finish listening to us.
You know, there was one reoccurring topic that seemed to come up during your episodes. You know, cupcakes. You guys like cupcakes?
I love
I
cupcakes.
like a good cupcake.
I love cupcakes.
And my
And
go-to,
Oreos.
yeah, my go-to is strawberry with strawberry icing on top. That's my go-to. And get a little disappointed when I go around town and can't find a good cupcake.
He can be a cupcake snob. Like,
Yeah,
he's a cake snob.
I am a cupcake snob.
He's a cupcake
I am a
snob.
cupcake snob.
He
Okay.
is.
And I will let let me stop.
Yeah, I do love cupcakes and cookies. It's definitely a thing, and all kinds of cupcakes. I don't have a go-to. Like, I would try all kinds of cupcakes. Cupcakes with bacon, cupcakes with frosting, cupcakes with chocolate.
You put a little bacon in the ice,
right?
Oh
like,
goodness.
who would have thought bacon on a cupcake? But it was actually delicious. Like, I would eat a cupcake in a flavor of food I don't eat. Like, I would eat a carrot cake cupcake, but I don't eat carrots. Like, I don't eat like cinnamon buns, but I would eat like a cinnamon something cupcake. I would eat that. So.
And if you really just want her to just melt and do whatever, just give her a bag of Oreo cookies.
Okay.
Just pick a flavor, and she would just melt.
Double stuff.
If it's double stuff, oh my goodness, she may even pay you.
You know, I don't even know how I feel that everyone knows my Achilles heel, like, in the world. Like, you don't know how many times I have been bribed into doing stuff and putting stuff on my calendar and coming because people gave me Oreos, and it's sad. I can't say no. Sometimes they don't even make it like from wherever I am to the house. Like, they're on the car. It's terrible.
What I'm hearing is we're gonna have some cupcakes and some Oreos for you guys at the summit.
Strawberry for me, please.
Strawberry, yes.
And make sure you read the reviews of the place that you're going. So not just don't just order just to be ordered. So
Gotta have some fancy ones.
I don't want to call out any place, but don't go to some establishment and just because they have multiplicable things in the store and they happen to have cupcakes. So not that one, but
He's a cupcake snob.
Go to the cupcake
I'm
shop.
easy.
Okay.
Any flavor double stuffed Oreos and a cupcake.
Okay, we're gonna have some variety. We'll find something that everyone, including Keith, will love.
Including Keith. Let's not even get on the ice water and the ice.
Oh, I remember this from our conversation last time. We can definitely have that available, but you're gonna have to remind me the specifics again.
Yes. So at a conference, one of the things that happens is that you sit water on the table, and after about 40 minutes, the ice melts. So what I would prefer, just keep me a bucket of ice, and then you can have another bucket of just ice water, because the one with just ice alone, it'll melt eventually, and that's fine. But the temperature is going to be just right that I can pour it over top of my other glass of ice. So
high maintenance. And it's not just at conferences. Whenever we go out to restaurants, when we're sitting in the studio,
all we're talking about is ice water. That's all we're talking about.
But no, it's not. We're talking about ice and ice water. Like, get one or the other. Come on now.
It's simple. I'm not even costing you that much. I mean, how many people
who's taking the temperature? Just drink the water. Are you thirsty? Drink the water.
No. All levels of temperatures of water don't quench the thirst. So please don't give me no lukewarm weather.
That we have gotten around the world. I can't even say around the country, around the world. When this man gets into his ice and ice water.
I order, here's my order when they come. Would you like a drink? Yes, sir, I would. I have a glass of ice water with lemon, and then I might have a second glass of just ice only. And typically what happened, the response be to ice, glass of ice. And I just hold my breath until they get back. And, a lot of times they just bring me a glass of ice just back. I clearly said ice water with lemon and a glass of ice.
Does this sound high maintenance to you?
To me, that's very basic.
I gotta answer.
How much basic can you get in ice water? I mean, I'm not asking you to mix it with anything. At worst, I'm asking for a slice of lemon. That's all.
Yeah.
of just ice, and it has to be 37 cubes, and none of them have to be rounded off on the edges.
No, because what happens is when they bring you ice water, they only bring you, they'll put just a little bit of ice. They'll probably fill it maybe about a third of the way, and then they will put it with water. And then therefore, when it comes back to your table, it's less than a third, just floating around up at the top. And therefore, when you put the straw in, you get in the bottom of it where it's not as cold as what the top may be. And so then therefore, I have to put the straw up at the top to drink off of that right there versus just having a full glass of ice all the way up to the top, and then I can pour my water into the glass, and then therefore the temperature of the water at the bottom of the glass is the same as the top, and therefore I can just, like normal people, put my straw in and I get my cold water from the bottom and not just from the top.
And now we know the perfect glass of ice water.
Don't co-sign that. This keeps up the shenanigans. Like, I'm not going to do ice water math ratios. Just bring the man a glass of ice water. Like, carry your own water if it's that serious. Whatever.
Okay, so all right, I gotta know though. So the Causenetic Podcast, like I said, you've been having a lot of conversations lately. What has been one of your favorites?
You know, I'm gonna say one that's not out yet. It should be out, I would imagine, maybe 2-3 weeks. We had Jason McCann with Very Desk, the CEO, in, and we talked a lot about leadership and talk about culture values. And what was exciting for me about it was just around the culture values. He said they hire towards their culture values and not just hiring towards the position. And people may say, well, what's the difference? A lot of times you can get an individual who has the right skills to do a particular job, but if they don't match the culture of your organization, they're going to be a dud real quick. They're not going to understand how to operate in this. Well, I do my work and I do it well, but you just don't fit.
Yeah, this season, this third season for me, I think the podcast that we did called Enough, right? And where we talked about when is it enough for something to become a widely held upon and agreed upon problem, right? And we talked about it across different things. And we talked about the Amber Alert, right? And the fact that it took the kidnapping of that unfortunate tragic event of one baby, and it sparked this nationwide alert to help make sure that doesn't happen to other children. But in other instances, you have things that happen again and again and again and again, and we still can't even get any consensus that it is in fact a problem, and nonetheless get to a solution. And then we just talked about it in other spaces, but this whole idea of enough, right? It's just so subjective that one was really my favorite, only because it just really, in preparing for the conversation, just the research that you do and trying to understand stuff and all that. I think another one of the favorites was Failing Forward, when we had to learn about mistakes in the WD-40. Like, who would have known there was 39 other WD formulas before we got to the WD-40? Like, this whole idea of
the
failing
only
forward.
Reason that it's called 40, it has 40 in it because it failed 39
It failed
times.
39 times. So those were, I think, two of my most recent favorites.
I like the one we did, I forgot the title of it, but it was all about you in terms of, not from the mental health space, but it probably supports that, but is that, what do you take time to do just for you?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make a difference what anybody else, it is no measurement that's going to make somebody happy. It is just do. And my example was around rock carving. Rock carving, it was something, it's just for me. And like for my long story short is that my family poked at me a lot because I threw away a box of rocks of my son. And that was, gracious, years ago. And they still kind of dogged me out about that. But my son and I went on the father-son camp out, and I picked up some rocks and carved up the date and stuff up there, and I gave it to him, and that was just, a moment for me and him. But I was like, man, it's kind of cool. And so I carve rocks, and like I collect rocks now,
Man is trolling Walmart, getting all the rocks out of the Walmart parking lot.
Well, you don't buy rocks. I mean, now here's what I did as a result of that too, is I changed out the mulch in front of my house and I put rocks in there.
Yes.
So I have my rock collection anytime.
Yeah. a nice new landscaping trend. Yeah.
Yeah, rocks, because he's on
Less
this
mowing, more rocks,
what machines and everything, but it's a thing. Keith is not going to be bored. He's going to keep a hobby, that's for sure.
Man, God gives us but a certain amount of years on this earth, and at this stage right now, I just want to take advantage of all of them.
Absolutely.
Rocks.
So, aside from running your own Causenetic podcast, do you all have any podcasts that you listen to in your spare time?
See, I try to be easy about it, because then I get to comparing and I get crazy in my head, and we change up the format. But Unbothered with Jamel Hill is probably my favorite, because she's another truth teller and she has some amazing guests on her podcast. And so that's probably the one that I listen to the most regularly is hers.
I got a few, but Guy Rod is one of the ones that I listen to a lot. Guy Rod, How I Built This, and just the stories of how things came to be, how companies came to be. Always intrigued by that there. Do a lot of TED Talks also, and the TED Talks, what I try to do with TED Talks is listen to something that I may not be interested in per se, because the ideas that they have coming out of different spaces, like, oh, wow. And that just energizes me from a creativity standpoint. So Saturdays or Sundays, I cut my grass, and then on Mondays, I'm like, Rod, I was listening to this TED Talk.
I was like, you was cutting grass this weekend, wasn't it? Sometimes I'll get a random text on a Sunday. We need to talk about this. I was like, you was cutting grass, wasn't it? Gracious, sir.
You got to do something to keep it entertaining, driving or exercising, mowing the grass, absolutely. Oh, I love that. Thank you all so much for chatting with me today. I knew this would be a blast. I think I said this before we started recording, and my cheeks hurt. My mouth's like all dry, because I'm like,
We have done our
yes.
No, yes. Is there anything else you all wanted to share? You already kind of hinted about an upcoming episode of the Causenetic Podcast that will come out. But just wanted to ask if there's anything else, before kind of end our conversation that you wanted to share that's coming up that you're excited about.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you for allowing us to run for this conversation today, but then also for inviting us out. I'm looking forward to meeting so many different leaders throughout the country, and being able to share knowledge from one another, exchange of knowledge as well. Yeah.
And I mean, we for as much as, and our wonderful producer, I got to shout out our wonderful producer, Lachey Leonard, is so amazing. I love her. But we are definitely getting into the space now where folks are inviting us to come and do main stage stuff, and maybe switch up how they do panels at their events and stuff. We are open for all of it. We are here. We're accessible. We just really want to continue to build this trend around conversation, just dialogue, and this whole idea of truth telling. And even if you don't agree, it's fine. You can still have a conversation. You can still coexist, and you can still have a good time and change the world.
Yep. So thank you. You know what we are going to be at? We're going to be down in Orlando with the National After School.
Oh, the National After School Association in March of next year, right?
For all you organizations out there who have youth development and do after school care and all that, come down and hang out with us at Orlando at National After School.
Yeah.
You guys are coast to coast, worldwide. Okay, one last thing before I let you go. Who would you recommend I chat with next? Any recommendations, and why?
Who should you chat with next? I want to say somebody, but I haven't seen the announcement come out yet, so I can't.
Why would you tease us like that? Like, why would you even allude to that? Because now I want to know.
I gotta find out. Well, I'm gonna go with my man. Well, no, I can't go. He's already been on. Go. You know what? I'm gonna tell you. Gary Cobb. He's on your board though, right?
Gary
Cobb from Alabama.
From Montgomery? Is it Montgomery?
Yeah, Montgomery, Alabama.
Oh, I don't know, but I think
Gary Cobb has been a long time friend. Great work. Started out as outreach director, now CEO down in Montgomery. Alabama. I would say talk to him. He has great insight. And I'm sure some of the people that you guys do such a great job with the
With your
folks.
cover,
I
folks.
mean,
yes.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Talk to all of them.
I really
sure.
want to say this one name, but I just haven't seen the announcement. And like he needs to be. Check with me a little bit later. I got a name for you. As soon as they make the announcement, it's like you need to get them on and be able to.
And you know who else? Shaquille O'Neal. Talk to Shaquille O'Neal. Like, he's hilarious. He is still very much centered. He understands the importance of the work that we are doing collectively in the rec industry. And he's a truth teller. He will tell you about his mess ups and
He's 7 foot shield in there.
he lives here in Dallas now. I'll call him.
Send him our way. I'll sit down with Shaquille.
Shaq don't live in no Carrollton.
He does.
He has a house. Everybody need a tax shelter. But if you get with Shaq, you gotta like have us on the interview with him though.
Oh, and a second ago though, you was giving me the side eye when I said Shaq.
I like Shaq's my man.
I would need you all there because I might freeze up, and get nervous. So you guys could handle that. I'll just be
man. I say yes. See, now you got me thinking. You know what? Mark Cuban. I would say Mark Cuban from the standpoint of Mark is in so many different spaces. But one of the key spaces that he's in is in esports. And that would, I think, be an excellent one. And if you did want a leader around esports, I got another guy for you also.
That's not him because he did not create esports.
Well, you've heard people say that. So
I've only heard you say that.
No,
I've heard anybody else say
we
that.
We have been on podcasts where you heard somebody say Keith created the movement of esports.
I've never heard
of all esports. They said
of all. I've never heard that. I've never not. Never heard.
Oh, perfect. Well, I can't thank you all enough. I feel honored to chat with you all, that you all take time away from your podcast to chat with me, and just that I get to actually hang out with you all in California.
Yes, I can't wait. That's gonna be so exciting.
Yes. So thank you all so much. Thank you all for helping us, continue to try to spread community voices, ideas, knowledge, networking, all the good things. And I appreciate you.
We appreciate you. Thank you, Community Rec.
All right.
I've been in the magazine too.
I've seen you stand behind Kurt in the magazine.
But I was in it. Yes. Where were you? Not in the magazine.
I'm sorry.
I had different hair then, though.
Quite frankly, I might have been in there before you, but I think it might have been the same time. Matter of fact, on multiple occasions.
I've been in there on multiple occasions too.
By myself.
I've written articles.
No, you not for Community Rec.
Yes, I have.
Oh, that you did have a little thing in there one time.
Mm-hmm. You both were in there, and you both will continue to be in there.
Thank you.
In the summit spread and everywhere. Just
jealousy.
We're big fans of you all.
Thank you. I owe you guys an article. I need to write it up.
Mm-hmm.
Ask him who helps him with his articles.
Ooh, start some co-authorship.
Co-authorship.
It's a package deal. Right?
We got something in common. Hey.
Oh, no, don't be. Gyrate.
Thank you all. You all are a blast.
Wonderful.
Thank y'all.
Yes. See everyone next time.
All righty.